Hi guys, this is Pam again from the original Woolly Dragon. Welcome back to my channel, and just want to say real quick before we get started on this video, a big thank you to the 500 plus viewers who viewed my last video about the seed inventory for cool weather veggies. So thanks. So before I forget, I always forget the pertinent YouTube stuff. You know, if you're watching any of my videos, if you're back watching from the one from last week and you liked it, please like and subscribe. I need all the subscribers I can get so I can be a YouTube 100 heir or even a $1 heir at some point. Still haven't quite figured out the ins and outs of, you know, how YouTubers make money. Can you do that? I'm guessing I need to get YouTube for Dummies or something, book to read or something like that. But it would be really cool to just get, you know, enough something coming in so I can buy seeds because, you know, I do that. But yeah, so if you like this video or like any of the other videos I have on my channel, Original Woolly Dragon, yes, please like them and subscribe. I just need all the help I can get, and as I progress, hope to be doing more content. But I was shocked and very pleased that I got 500 plus people to watch the last one. So let's keep it up. Big thumbs up, subscribe. I need all the friends I can get, I guess. And okay, so that's the gratuitous plug and begging. So we're going to continue this video. This probably is going to be the last video of the seed inventory for 2023. We'll see how far we go. I'm going to try and keep these, you know, down to like half an hour or so, but the more I keep yammering, you know, the longer it's going to take. So we'll just see how chatty Cathy I am this time, and see if we can keep this under half an hour. So I've got the warm weather veggie seeds on hand right now. I've got a little bit, there are some seeds that I have already that I will not be planting anymore, and why. And again, nothing against the seed catalogs and things like that where I bought this stuff from. They just didn't work for me for whatever reason. And then I got a couple of shipments in, 2 more seed shipments, not a lot, you know, like maybe 10 packets from each place. So probably gonna have to either do an addendum to this video or do like a midweek kind of video for that kind of stuff. So let's go ahead and get into the warm weather stuff that I will not have to really start planting seeds for a couple of more months at least, more like 10 weeks or so, and more, considering there's some of the stuff is stuff you plant outside, you don't start them inside or anything like that. So we'll get started with beans, green beans. I've got a few different kinds. 2 are bush green beans. This one from Seeds and Such, and then another one, this is Mascotte, Mascotte, which it may, being French, may be pronounced mascot, or it could be having a French pronunciation, Mascotte. Any French Canadian people or people from France or people who speak French, let me know. I'm gonna do like I did for the cool weather veggies and just kind of list everything that I've got, so you can just kind of see if there's anything that tickles your fancy for your own repertoire. Another French word I remembered. So I've got 2 different kinds of bush beans. Bush beans are the kind of thing, I'm getting to a certain age where I don't really like bending over to pick and weed and hoe and that kind of stuff. So I have a raised bed that I actually made out of a horse trough back when I had horses. It's a stand that comes up to about waist height for me. And it's a plastic tub that's about 4 feet long and about maybe, I don't think it's quite 2 feet wide, but it's enough for things. Right now, strawberries are in it. But I have in the past planted bush beans in it. And that way everything's kind of, I don't have to bend over as far. So any little things like that I can try and do. So bush beans definitely have their place. Having them planted for me in the ground, down, ankle height and that kind of stuff isn't working out for me so much anymore. So I've been kind of sort of getting away from bush beans and going more towards pole beans because they can grow up. You can grow them on a trellis and just pick them like that. So Mascotte, this is just a general green bean. And then this is, oops, no, wrong one. This is a bush bean called Royal Burgundy, so it's purple. I also like getting the beans that are a different color than the foliage. So these are purple green beans. And then I also have a variety of pole beans. They're just plain and simple purple potted pole beans. They also have the purple pods. But before you start going, ooh, eating purple stuff, purple veggies, no, they turn green when you cook them. So it's not so bad. So I'm kind of, these 2 packs of the bush beans I've had for a while now. As soon as I get them all planted and used up, I probably won't be going back to bush beans. I'll be staying with pole beans. I've got a few of the purple potted pole beans still left in here that I can you can either grow them up like a trellis, like a cattle panel trellis, which is what I've got. Or I've also in the past, if you have access, if there's like a field that has just bamboo growing willy-nilly on a part, of your property or anything like that, if you cut those down at the base, strip off the leaves, let them dry really good. So this time of year is a really good time to go and do that because leaves are already pretty much off of them if you're in more northern climes. And then just let them sit and dry out. And that way they won't kind of root on you and start causing problems in a different place. But I will routinely, there's a spot on my parents' property that has some that's coming in, but I just go and I'll just take my loppers and just lop them off, throw in the back of my car, and which is a lot of fun because I have an SUV, but it's one of those small kind of SUVs, and I invariably end up with bamboo fronds waving back and forth in front of my face, which luckily I live in a very rural area, so I don't have a lot of pressure from, the popo, because I probably would get pulled over because it looks kind of like a jungle inside my vehicle, and I'm Tarzan. But so I'll get the little bamboo sticks, I'll tie them around at the very top, make my little teepee, let them grow a couple of seeds at the base of each one of the little poles, let them grow up, and it's just a nice way. And if you look back at one of my previous videos, one of my first ones about the bees, there's one that shows, I actually had one of those little teepees that I had peas planted at the base of, and one of my beehives had swarmed, and the swarm had accumulated at the top of the teepee, and it kind of looked like Thanos's glove that he snapped at, Endgame. If you're into Marvel and Avengers and stuff like that, you'll know what I'm talking about. If you don't, you don't know what I'm talking about. We can't be friends. So I'm probably gonna put the kibosh on beans this year because I have a lot of them in the freezer, and I had a really bad time with Colorado bean beetles last year. I was having to spray, a lot, and I don't really like to do that. So I think what I'm gonna go ahead and do is give it a rest on beans for this year, and just see if maybe the bean beetles go somewhere else. All right, so that's it for beans. Where are we gonna go? All right, So let's do some melons. We'll get into those kinds of things. So I've got watermelons, and then I have just melons. Most of the things that you buy in the grocery store as cantaloupes are actually muskmelons. Actual cantaloupes are more of a French or European kind of thing. So what you really get probably most of the time, at least in my neck of the woods, is muskmelons as opposed to cantaloupes. But I guess muskmelons isn't as sexy as cantaloupe for whatever reason. So I have a couple of different things here. One is an actual muskmelon called Trifecta that I got from Southern Exposure Seed Exchange last year. I didn't get to grow any of these, and I'm not too sure why. I think I ran out of room maybe in time. So I'm going to try and grow these. I also have a variety. This is actually a type of honeydew melon called Jenny Lind. It's an old heirloom, and I just have a few seeds. These are actually from 2014, so they may not even grow for me. So if they do, great. I'll grow them out and see if I get anything from them. If not, that's the end of Jenny Lind for a while. And then I have watermelon seeds. I have 3 different kinds of watermelon. I have a problem growing watermelons. And it's not so much that they don't grow. It's just there's a fine balance with watermelons. If you have not enough water, the watermelons themselves don't grow large enough. They'll be these tiny little things, even though they're supposed to be the big, huge 20-pound things. They also have to be fed in order to grow. But if you get a little too much water, so if you water, with garden hose or drip irrigation or something like that, if you water too much, or if you get a really big rain after kind of a dry period, they have a tendency to split on you, and then bugs get in there and it's just a mess. So I was this close last year with, I don't think I did this one. I think I did, it was a variety called Sangria, and I used up all the seeds on that last year. And so they tried, they attempted to. I got one watermelon that I actually was able to eat, and that was the biggest harvest from watermelon that I've gotten ever. So I've got 2 different kinds of varieties here. I kind of usually end up going for the kind that have the more bushy type vines than the actual sprawling that go everywhere. But in the end, they usually end up sprawling no matter what. So I have, this is from 2016, so we'll see if they sprout out. This is Jubilee Bush. So these are some of the ones that are supposed to be a little bit more compact. The California Sweet Bush Watermelon, same deal. So it's very, very sweet. And then I saw these at Southern Exchange last year. It's called Strawberry. And it's supposed to be very, very sweet and have a slight taste of strawberries to it. So that'll be interesting. So I'm kind of at 2 ends. Do I grow all 3 and see what happens, or do I just grow the one? So I'm gonna have to wait, and luckily I've got time. They won't go in to start getting seeded until like May kind of deal. Cucumbers. I have a problem with cucumbers in the fact that I keep buying seeds for them, hoping that this one is going to be the one that does great. Now, one kind of cucumber that I had the best luck with, this is a parthenocarpic kind of cucumber. These are the kinds of the ones that can be grown in greenhouses, and they do not need to have, some of those kinds, they need to have like a pollinator. So just an old-fashioned kind of cucumber that has male flowers on it. These guys they don't do male flowers. But these guys can set fruit without being pollinated, and therefore won't give you seeds. Now, if you do have other kinds of cucumbers in the area, they'll probably get pollinated, and so therefore you get. So if you grow several different kinds of cucumbers, including Diva, this is Diva, by the way, and you get seeds, that's why you have seeds, because you had a bunch of them. The bees were flitting around the different flowers. So Diva is my go-to, partially because I have good luck with her. As long as I keep her sprayed. We have problems with powdery mildew and squash beetles and flea beetles and things like that. We'll get on them and start gnawing on them, and then diseases come, and it's a whole thing. So what my plan for this year, I have 4 different kinds of cucumbers here. And what I'm going to do is, they're all about, I think, yeah, about little less than 2 months duration for each one. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to start with one kind, and then a month later start growing another kind, and then the next month start growing another kind, so that hopefully by the time the first one that I'm growing starts petering out due to bugs and disease and all that kind of stuff, I can yank them out without a whole lot of disruption, and the next one will be starting to get ready to go. So Diva is definitely one of my favorites. Other reason why I like it, and if you have problems with cucumbers, you know, causing gas and burping and all that kind of stuff for you, my mom has that problem, and Diva is the only kind of cucumber. I have to grow Diva for her. If I don't grow Diva, she doesn't want cucumbers. So, oh boy, jet airplane flying over me. Hope there's not World War III going on. Then I have one called Green Light. This is one that I grew specifically because it's supposed to help kind of like wind itself up the trellis. Another one. Yeah, let me know in the comments if we're at war, okay? It didn't do quite that well that way for me, but the other thing that I kind of like about it, they make smaller little cucumbers, or like little snacking type cucumbers, and it takes only about a month from seed to really start producing things. So if you have little kids that like to go out and munch on things, the Green Light, give them a try, because they're kind of cute. I also got one. This was free seed from Baker Creek last year, called Beit Alpha, and I think this is supposed to be a good all-purpose one for, you know, using for slicing, but also for pickling. So I don't think I actually got to grow these last year, so I'm gonna go ahead and do that. One thing I do know about Diva, the only hang up I have about Diva is it is specifically just for slicing and putting on salads and that kind of stuff. It's not good for pickling. It'll just turn to mush. Green Lights, I don't think I've ever tried, but Diva I did try. So I'm going to do these to get some, to do dill pickles next year. And then I have a variety called Gherking, which is going to be like tiny little pickling cucumbers. And then I read the process of how you actually do make gherkin pickles, which is kind of involved. So I probably will just use this just to do regular pickles, not just gherkins. Zucchini. I envy the people who can grow zucchini and end up having to give it away and compost and end up having the big gigantic baseball bat fruits and things like that. I have lost my mojo about growing zucchini, of all things. It's the darn squash beetles. They will get on my zucchini and they will eat into it, and I come out and I have a dead plant. It's all wilted and that kind of stuff. I do not have a problem with the squash vine borers. It's the squash beetles chewing on everything, and then I'm thinking diseases get kind of inserted inside the plant and they end up dying from bacterial wilt or something like that. So again, my aim is to try and keep up with my vigilance on the squash bugs this year. For those of you who've never had to deal with squash bugs, they look kind of like stink bugs, which if you also don't have a problem with stink bugs, where do you live? Because I want to move there, because I do not have problems with Japanese beetles. I get a few on my roses every once in a while. I just go off and pick them off and throw them in soapy water, but nothing like I've heard people, coming out in the morning and find their roses and other things in the garden, just skeletons left over. I don't have Japanese beetles. I don't really have aphids. I'm knocking on wood. But squash bugs and the bean beetles last year. And then the cabbage looper worms. Those three are the banes of my existence. You know, if there was a way that I could just push a little button and have 3 species of insects removed from the place, you know, the face of the earth, those would be the ones that I would choose, at least for me. So I have this variety. It's called a Spineless Supreme. It's supposed to not have the little sticky parts on the stems. And so I'm going to keep trying. I'm going to try and be a little bit more vigilant on my squash bug control. Knowing that bumblebees and honeybees and stuff like that love to get in and do the pollinations and the flowers of these guys. I just hate having to spray these guys because they always have flowers on them. I'm okay with spraying stuff that flowers and then no more kind of deal. But yeah, squash, I have a problem because I don't want to kill the bees as well as squash bugs. So if anyone knows of a less lethal to bees and other pollinators solution to squash bugs, I've tried hand picking the eggs off. I've tried just spot spraying with everything. Neem, 7 dust, you know, that kind of stuff. So yeah, if you have any kind of organic, non-lethal to pollinator bugs for squash bugs, please let me know in the comments below. All right. I've got 5 different kinds of winter squash here. 2 are classified as pumpkins, and I've got 3 kinds of just winter squash. So let me tell you why I'm probably not going to grow pumpkins too much after these 2 packs run out. Because I have no less than 2 pumpkin patches near my house. I can go there in September and October, buy a couple of pumpkins for jack-o'-lanterns for Halloween, and be done with it. Not have to worry about spraying, not have to worry about space. Because I have found that you don't necessarily need pumpkins to make pumpkin pie. As a matter of fact, my very favorite pumpkin pie has come from butternut squash. And yes, I've been using pipe pumpkins too. So I've got 2 different kinds of pumpkins here. One is the traditional jack-o'-lantern type called Bellatrix. I just like the name. But it's also supposed to have a good disease resistance to it. 15 to 25 pounds, round with little ridges. So I bought those. I didn't grow these last year. I didn't grow any pumpkins last year. Usually what I'll do is over at my parents' house, they've got a spot back in the old garden that's just this big open spot. And I'll ask my dad to till it up, you know, in the spring. And then I'll come and put down straw. And then I will go out and I will plant, you know, different hills of whether it's butternut squash or pumpkins or something like that. And for some reason, they don't have as big of a problem with those squash bugs as I do. So I may relegate all my pumpkin and squash stuff to them. Because once they're going, they don't really require any kind of help. And I'll put down like cardboard underneath and stuff. And it's kind of like Charlie Brown and the pumpkin, you know, the Great Pumpkin. It was kind of one of those things you walked out and there's fronds everywhere. Then you get the frost and everything dies back and you go wading through the morning glories and all that kind of stuff. And there's like hundreds. I mean, there were hundreds of butternut squash and pumpkins and stuff like that. And I think that was several years ago. I still have pumpkin in the freezer. But it's also good for doing like roasting pumpkin seeds. We are not going to get through this in half an hour. So we're going on 25 minutes. Yeah, let's get on here. And maybe we'll make this a part 2, or I'll do a part 2 one Saturday and one Sunday. How about that? So Bellatrix for our jack-o'-lantern type pumpkin. It was pretty, but again, I've got the 2 pumpkin patches near me that I can just go and buy if I need for pumpkins. This is a variety called Winter Luxury Pie pumpkins. These aren't specifically pumpkins. These are more along the lines of more winter squash. And that's a whole to-do too. Don't get me into it. So this is supposed to be just a good all-around pie pumpkin. Takes about 100 days from seeding till you get pumpkins, that kind of thing. And it's just, I'll throw up a picture and show it to you. It's just kind of a, sorry. I had a Coca-Cola at lunch. It's just a very gentle looking pumpkin. It doesn't really have the orange skin to it. It's more of a peachy, salmony, beige color. It's actually pretty. It's prettier than I just made it sound. But it's pretty. But you can't make jack-o'-lanterns out of it or anything like that. All right, so I have a few different kinds of just straight winter squash. So you may notice in your seed catalogs that pumpkins very often are separated from winter squash. They're all kind of the basic thing. Just one looks more like a Halloween pumpkin, one looks like squash. So I discovered this. When did I buy this? 2019. So we're going on 4 years now? 3 years, yeah. This is a variety of butternut squash called Narragansett. And I've grown other kinds of butternut squash before. Not really had a lot of luck with them. Either they were small and puny or had really large like seed cavities that most of the actual fruit part of it was seed cavity and not actually flesh. But this one had a nice small little seed cavity. It was very prolific. And this is the butternut squash that I've been using for pumpkin pie. And it has a nice flavor. You can make, I frequently will do, we'll slice up the butternut into rings and roast them. And then I cut them to make like little half moons, and I will kind of make like almost like a little casserole, and I'll pour melted butter that I've sauteed some garlic, throw some Parmesan cheese on top, put that in the oven to warm through real quick. It's really good. And then you can do things, that's the savory kind of thing, and then you can do the sweet things like pumpkin pie using the butternut squash. The only other thing that has come close to that Narragansett butternut squash when it comes to doing pies that are actually good for this area that I found is a variety of winter squash called North Georgia Candy Roaster. So North Georgia, Georgia is, North Georgia itself is maybe 100 miles from me as the crow flies. I'm more up in the North Carolina and Virginia corner of Tennessee than Georgia, but still, it's not that far away as the crow flies. And I don't know if you can see, there's a little picture of what they look like. They're pink, and they have these little green ends on each end, both ends. And they get to be over a foot in length, kind of big around, and they keep really good, so you can just put them in an unheated shed. Just make sure they don't freeze kind of deal, and they will keep forever. They make real good, same thing as the butternut squash, things like that. So I recommend that, especially if you live in the South, because they were, basically born and bred in my neck of the woods. So, and then the last variety I got was a variety called Blue Hubbard squash. And the reason why I got this was that I was told that it's virtually indestructible, and the squash bugs will gravitate toward it and leave everything else alone. I grew one plant last year. It didn't do so good. It was pretty much eaten down within, it had a few, maybe football size squashes on them. The plant itself died. We hadn't even had frost yet. The plant had died. I went to pick up one of the fruits and it was like hollow. The squash bugs had actually eaten up into the little football squashes. I was just like, well, okay. I guess I'll go ahead and use this because this is the only thing I grew. I just wanted to see how it did. So as for its resistance to the squash bug, maybe I should plant more than one, just so one will be the trap, and one will actually try and survive. But I've got several seeds left in here, so we'll just have to play it by ear. All right, so we're gonna go ahead. Oh, one more thing, and then we'll get to the other stuff, the tomatoes and such. I found a couple years ago that I can actually grow peanuts. Peanuts are usually a crop that's better suited for further, like deep South Georgia, Alabama, Mississippi, that kind of stuff. But I went ahead. This is a variety that's actually called Tennessee Red Valencia. I got it at Southern Exposure Seed Exchange. And I planted them in one of my raised beds. And I actually got peanuts. So that's the good news. Got peanuts. It took up an entire 4x4 space on one of my 4x8 raised beds. They're there for quite a long time. I want to say at least 4 months. It's there in that bed taking up the space, because you can't plant it while the soil's still cold. You have to get it planted after everything's pretty much warmed up, so June. So you've got June, July, August, and into September. So that's a long time to take up that much space. And basically what I ended up with was enough peanuts, because my dad loves boiled peanuts. You get some freshly dug up peanuts, you throw them in some boiling salted water, and you let them boil and boil and boil, and then they make these, it's just salty deliciousness. But it was basically enough for one serving. There wasn't enough to keep. There wasn't enough to I didn't get any of them. Dad got all of them because I was feeling generous that year. So I may go ahead and just use up the rest of these. I may have actually take them over to their house, so there's a little bit more space. Since it just sits there, it doesn't really get tended to a whole lot. And let that be it for a while. I may try it again another time, but we'll see. All right, so let's call it quits. We'll say that this is the seed inventory for warm weather veggie crops part 1, and we'll do part 2. I'll probably post for tomorrow, which I'm going to try and do this for Saturday. So Saturday, and then part 2 should be on Sunday. So stay tuned. Thanks for watching. Like I said before, like, subscribe, comment any comments you want to. I love answering questions. I love hearing that you liked what you saw. If you have suggestions, just don't, I already know that I say too much and that kind of thing. So I will get better, and hopefully you will be along for the ride. So I'll see you all tomorrow on Sunday. And I also have, that'll work out. So I can actually do the Solanaceae type stuff, I've got a pack of the seeds that I won't be growing anymore and why. Oh, and I forgot my little, oh, well, we're good. We'll get to those. And then possibly unearthing and doing a quickie of my 2 seed shipments that I got in these last couple days. All right, so I will see everyone tomorrow. Haha. And stay tuned. Bye.